Aloha and welcome to what I am dubbing the Chungus builds or the Unga Bunga builds. Now, I have seen a lot of people running the Leto armor and probably going to get in trouble for saying this. I genuinely view these as no skill builds because you can simply just do things like this on them. Now, the Leto armor actually really doesn't give you anything other than a metric ton of defense, pretty good resistances, and the ability to not be staggered by your general hits. Some bosses will still have certain attacks that can hit you and stagger you, but generally speaking, for your average hit, nothing is going to happen. Now, the reason I call this the Unga Bunga setup is because, in case you can't see, I am literally just sat on this boss being an absolute monster and just being like, I actually don't care, I'm just going to keep hitting you and whatever happens. What actually does end up happening is, completely demolish this guy. This is on hard. I have noticed this does work up to about Nightmare, and I have tested it on Apocalypse, and with certain enemies and bosses it works very well. With others you get annihilated. Now, I've set this up entirely just to be survivable, so I'm using the Iskall pistol thing with the vampiric perk just to get a little bit of extra healing out should I need it. I am also using the repulsor shotgun. Despite the fact that with the ring makeup I am using, it still hits pretty damn hard, and the banish perk is quite handy to have just to get rid of those pesky elites while you deal with the trash, as well as Riven, which is going to be our main source of healing. This is actually, after a fair chunk of playtesting, pretty damn powerful if you don't get staggered. The problem with it is, on pretty much every other armour, you will get staggered and you will die. The Leto armour comes really, really handy for that. You also deal 15% more damage with enemies that are targeting you, so in solo play this can be pretty damn powerful, but the main reason we want it is the reduction of stagger upon yourself. We're also using the Butcher's Fetish, which gives us a 10-second buff to critical chance, 15% I believe it is, or 10. This actually comes in handy because it does also increase our damage overall, as well as meaning we get that crit chance. And I'm also using the Band of Pollux and the Band of Castor. This increases our melee damage and our melee attack speed, but decreases our fire rate and range damage. And with both of them together, it decreases our encumbrance, which is really, really handy because we can now roll. And I actually don't have Leto's charm yet, or Leto's amulet, whatever it's called. So overall, as a melee build, this works really, really well. But if you don't want to go melee, don't worry. I've got you the Unga Bunga 2 or the Chungus 2. This isn't quite as effective, and it potentially could be with utilising Leto's charm and having a different workaround, but what this relies upon is simply range damage. Mainly using the Pride of Iskall here as a way to get a lot of healing back. However, I am also using Nightmare's charm to help sustain me through it, but our main purpose and profile of healing is literally through the vampiric perk on the Pride of Iskall, simply just because of the high damage per shot of the Eye of the Storm. I'm going to be running that along with the overcharge perk you get with it. Does help clear out trash mobs, which is one of the main reasons this actually has a bit of a downfall. The melee damage that you do on this isn't enough to actually be able to sustain you effectively throughout a engagement. So it is there just in case, as it does some pretty good DPS, and the added healing effect is a nice bonus, but that melee weapon is entirely your choice. It's just simply there because I quite like the look of the weapon. Potentially using Guardian Axe or the Tempest Rush, the lightning spear thing, would be better options. Guardian Axe for quicker generation of mod power, and Tempest Rush because it does deal with mobs very, very well, particularly if you do the dodge counter charge attack. it works. But overall, this, yeah, like I said, there are no skill builds. You just stand there and attack, and you heal through most of it. You're completely unfazed by everything else. Obviously, you do need to pay somewhat attention to your health bar because you can die. And you just basically just turn uber healing on and away you go. Now, if you do plan on using the ranged Unga Bunga at a higher level than hard, I would recommend at least making sure you have Leto's charm, simply because the dive and fall on the floor, yeah, it's funny, it does a little bit of damage, it's not really worthwhile in the slightest. And more often than not, it gets you killed trying to stand back up. So if you do dive, you want to make sure it kills them, which is quite fun to do. But yeah, these do work. They are completely no skill builds. I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying that, because you just, like, I just don't care. I am literally just playing and being, yeah, Unga Bunga, no brain power, just shoot occasionally, and that's really about it. Yeah, nothing has really changed for this. I'm using the Pride of Viscout for the healing perk in a pinch, Eye of the Storm for decent damage, as well as CC and area AoE DPS as well. Riven just for those extra heals, although this is entirely up to you on what you want to run. If you're not too keen on the Pride of Iskall, or you want to run something else, I would at least make sure it has the Mender's Aura in it. If you're going to go for a boss weapon, Pride of Iskall is kind of your go-to. Complete Leto armor, and we're using the Nightmare Spiral, which is really, really handy. Jewel of the Black Sun for stacking up those range damage, and Empowering Loop, because it's one of the largest damage perks in the game. In all, we have lots of healing. Anyway, in the meantime, have fun, good luck, and don't die.